Welcome to Catholic Comments. I'm John O'Keefe.
And I'm Wendy M. Wright. Our guest today is Susan Naatz. Susan is the Associate Vice Provost for Mission and Ministry here at Creighton University. And she's here in our program today to talk about phenomena of diocese to diocese twinning programs, of which Omaha has a thriving one with the diocese in Guatemala. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you very much.
Why don't we begin by just having you talk to us a little bit about what is the nature of this particular twinning project that you're involved with?
Well, in 2003, I was working at a West Omaha parish, and we were looking for a mission project for our Global Outreach Committee. And we were approached by a local priest, Father Damien Zerline, and a friend of his, Sergio Sosa, who was from Guatemala. And they asked our parish if we would be interested in starting a mission project with them. So at the time, we had been researching well-established, long-running mission projects that we could get involved with. And I must admit, I was a little hesitant at first to create something.
Right. That's a fairly bold initiative.
It was bold.
But so you're using sort of twinning and mission synonymously. So obviously you think about this twinning arrangement as a mission project.
Definitely. So what Father Damien's initial vision was that we would set up a parish twinning. So we would find parishes in Guatemala and we would connect them with parishes in Omaha. As it turned out, as it began to unfold and the more involved we got, we realized that it would be better to do an archdiocese to diocese twinning so that we could stay connected to the larger picture of the diocese of each one of us.
Okay, so it sounds like you were a part of a parish in West Omaha, and you haven't given up your relationship with this particular twinning program, Ishim, Spirit of Solidarity. But you may be attending a different parish at this point and moved and things like that. So it's not just dependent on a particular local community or congregation.
Excellent point. So, yes, at the time I was at St. Vincent de Paul Parish. I am now working, obviously, at Creighton University. Part of my work at St. Vincent de Paul was this project. But then once I moved, we no longer had anyone who had it as part of their regular professional employment. So we put together a large leadership team. I'm still on that. And we have taken 1, 2, or even 3 groups a year to Guatemala since 2004.
So how is this different than just going to visit Guatemala? And why Guatemala?
Great question. Well, the people that approached us initially had a relationship with the Diocese of Guatemala, so we wanted to partner with them and look into it.
A diocese in Guatemala, you mean, right?
Yes.
So there's more than one diocese.
Yeah, Huehuetenango
Yes.
apparently
Okay.
is the one. Yeah.
Very good. They had a pastoral plan, and they had hopes and dreams and visions that they asked us to partner with them with. They did not want the sometimes American model of our coming in thinking we knew what was best. So we've always been very, very cognizant of that and tried to be very careful and not do that.
So, yeah, go ahead, John.
So what kind of projects have you done then? First of all, how many people have you actually brought down there?
To date, we're right about 150, and we advertise in Catholic parish bulletins every year to see who would like to go with us. And our groups have numbered in size everywhere from 12 to 36. And when we took 36, we decided that was too big. So
yeah, that's a big number. And so what kinds of things do the folks do when they go down there?
So we have a medical director, Dr. Christine McVeigh. She works at One World Community Health. And from the very beginning...
In Omaha.
Here
right.
in Omaha, thank you. From the very beginning, she was showing us that the water was such a tremendously strong source of the disease, and would it be possible for us to do some water projects? So we worked with Living Waters of the World, which is a project across the country, and we installed about 6 large water projects. And since that time, we are now working on a smaller project where the water system can be put into the home, similar to what we're doing in the Dominican Republic through Creighton University.
This is a fascinating perspective on things. And we did a number of podcasts ago, a podcast about work in Africa and how in Africa itself, bishops and dioceses are not simply the spiritual leaders or the sort of the theological teachers or the administrators of parishes, but that they become resource people to address the whole person.
Well, that was specifically, I believe, in the Congo, where there's no functional government, and the church was actually fulfilling the role of civic leadership. So if there was going to be any water quality happening in that part of the Congo, it was going to be the church leading it. Now, I'm assuming in Guatemala, though, they have government, but maybe it just doesn't work for the people very well. So the church is kind of doing similar kinds of things.
Right, and I'm glad you brought this up because the focus for this diocese are the rural mountain Mayan people. So they're the poorest of the poor in Guatemala, and that is where their pastoral plan extends to try to bring health resources as well as spiritual resources and other necessities of life.
So Omaha has a fairly good-sized immigrant Guatemalan population. Are many of the people from the rural areas?
They are. Thank you. Yes, we actually know several people from having met them there and having met them here in Omaha. We recently had a political success where one of the people from Santa Eulalia, Guatemala, had been imprisoned because he was in the country illegally, and there was a huge turnout from Ishim and Pishan Ishim, which is another Guatemalan group, at the hearing, and he was released because he had so much support and because there is so much danger in him going back.
I want to circle back around to something you said earlier about you're trying to avoid having the people here in the United States decide what the people down in Guatemala need, and which is a kind of a common problem with short-term missions. And there's been a lot written about that. But I'm wondering how specifically you avoid those things.
Well, we have several formation meetings to prepare people for these trips. And we work hard in teaching them that, and as well as teaching them what solidarity means, as well as bringing them into a whole sense of, would you want someone coming into your life telling you what your needs are? And most of the time people understand that. But there are a lot of folks who come to our first meetings and decide this isn't for them because they have a certain American expertise that they think that they should be sharing. So that does get difficult.
So we're talking here about a kind of spiritual preparation as well.
Definitely.
That sometimes people go off on mission with a very laudable but perhaps short-sighted idea that I'm going to save people. I'm going to, bring my privilege to this situation or something like that. And I think often reverse mission happens. Can you say something about your own experience of being with and listening to not only the diocesan pastoral team, but also the people on the ground?
Definitely. We also, our missionaries live with families in the mountain villages, and quite frankly, that's where the transformation comes in. That is where they meet heart to heart and soul to soul and understand their common humanity. And so it's no longer about who has a higher education or who has more expertise. It's about a relationship. And that is where they find God as well.
So do you find that the people who go on these things come back changed as a result of the experience? I mean, I know that was certainly my experience was going to first the DR and then to Africa. It kind of changed me in pretty dramatic ways. So do people report that?
They do. And when we're ready to leave, when they first arrive in a developing country like this, they're in shock because they've never really seen this kind of poverty. But by the time they leave, they're in relationship, and their hearts are moved and they're changed. And they come back here and they want to know what they can do. And a lot of people stay connected to us.
There's a lot of, there is some talk of parish-to-parish twinning programs. As you said, this began as a possible parish twinning program, but it's fairly unusual, I think, for diocese to twin with another diocese. Is that the case?
I know that there are programs like this, but I think there are more parish to parish than diocese to diocese.
Right.
And we're hoping that now that we've been in this for 10, almost 12 years, we're hoping that we can be a model because we've been very successful. Our Archbishop, Lucas, went on a trip last summer, and when he came back, his staff said to our team, "What did you do to our Archbishop? He's changed."
So he had never been to the developing world before?
No.
Now, have you yourself been on one of these trips?
Oh, yes.
So talk about that a little bit.
Well, when I first started helping organize this trip, I had not planned on going. I was looking at myself as the Omaha organizer. And then, lo and behold, I went on the first trip. And everything changed for me after that. It was no longer a job. It was no longer a ministry. It was a commitment to this amazing culture and these people. And when I had people coming up to me at our first organizational meeting, people from Guatemala who could not return home because they were undocumented, showing me pictures of their family and asking me to find them, that is when I knew that I couldn't leave this mission project. And I haven't.
So you've been a number of times?
Yes, I've been on 4 trips where we took groups of people, and then I've been down probably 3 times for our board meetings.
Okay, so you have a board meeting with the pastoral team
We do.
from the Archdiocese of Huehuetenango, as well as organizational and promotional kind of activity here in Omaha.
Yes.
Yeah, and who are the people on this pastoral team? I understand they're actually paid by the Archdiocese of Huehuetenango.
They have a whole division, which is their, we would call it a social ministry division, and they call it their pastoral social, and their whole staff is committed to Ishim. It's part of their job. So they travel, they meet us at the airport, they travel every step of the way on the trip. They really keep us safe, and they help us if there are any accidents, any illnesses, and they also are part of developing our projects. And so in addition to our medical project, we've also had refurbishing projects, and we have, if you will, sponsored 24 young women who are in formation to become ministers in Guatemala. So they're consecrated, but they're not considered a religious order, but they're consecrated.
So what's the next project?
Well, it depends on what they want and what they need. And one thing we have done is we've committed to one area for the next 5 years. Up until now, we've always just gone around to several different areas, but now for 5 years, we're going to work in one area to see if there can be a measure of sustainability.
Okay, this has been a really interesting conversation with Susan Naatz, who is the Associate Vice Provost for Mission and Ministry at Creighton, but she's here to talk to us about Ishim, the Spirit of Solidarity, and the Archdiocesan or Diocesan twinning programs between Omaha and Guatemala. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And this has been Catholic Comments from Creighton University.